Looking for the perfect happy hour to unwind after a long day at work? Look no further than Walter's Indoor-Outdoor Happy Hour, catering to everyone who lives in and around Navy Yard. $5 happy hour options include salmon sliders and house red wine.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Spencer Schwellenbach set to go. He steps into his windup, and the first pitch of tonight's ball game is hit in the air to deep right field for Abrams. White going back, it's over his head, and it is gone! On the first pitch of the game, C.J. Abrams gives the Nationals a 1-0 lead.
Now the set of the pitch. 3-2 is drilled in the air to right. Cruz moving back, has a play. No, he doesn't. It is gone. Goodbye. Cruz squared up as if to decoy the runner Ozuna, but had no play. The ball over the wall and into the chop house seats, a 2-run homer for Drake Baldwin. And on one swing, the Braves tie it here in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's the Nationals 2 and the Braves 2.
A check on Baldwin, the pitch home. Swing, it's poked in the air, shallow left center. It's going to dunk in for a hit. Baldwin coming around third. Young comes up throwing toward the plate. It runs out of steam, and it's cut off by Lopez, the pitcher, in front of the mound. RBI single, Ozzie Albies. Big insurance run for Atlanta. It's 5-2.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the podcast, but I'm joined by the man who runs the podcast, Tim Shovers. The man who runs MLB, Commissioner Rob Manfred. A major announcement from him on Tuesday. MLB has removed Pete Rose and 16 other deceased individuals from the permanently ineligible list, making Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, among others, eligible for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is MLB's all-time leader in regular season hits, 4,256. Pete Rose, at one point, as many of you know, played for the Nationals franchise. He played for the Montreal Expos in the 1984 season, and the Nats right now could use the hitting of Pete Rose. Maybe not the moral guidance of Pete Rose, but the hitting of Pete Rose. Another woeful offensive performance and yet another loss. Tuesday night, a 5-2 loss at the Atlanta Braves in Game 2 of a 4-game series. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 2-0 fourth-inning lead. The Nats now have lost 7 consecutive games, the team's longest losing streak in MLB's 2025 regular season, in which the Nats now are 17-26. Coming up later in the show, a report on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We on Tuesday night got this email from Grady Shook. Writes Grady, watching the game tonight, it feels like the Nats are headed towards loss number 7 in a row. The Nats have the most losses in the majors since 2020. The same lineup and bullpen management errors are made time and time again. Hitters rarely seem to get better once they hit the majors outside of offseason changes the hitters make on their own. Draft picks seem to consistently fail, and yet it feels like Davey and Rizzo will be safe. My question to the pod is, do you guys think that the fan base, and by extension, the franchise, has become indifferent to failure? It is starting to feel like the worst Snyder years with the Skins, where failure is expected, and I don't even get angry anymore. Thank you for the email, Grady. Tim, these are troubling times right now if you're a Nats fan. There's no question about that.
Troubling times if we're comparing it to that previous owner of the football team. My gosh, Grady coming out strong there. Listen, it's a bad state of affairs right now all across the organization. There's no two ways about it. They've lost 7 in a row. It doesn't feel that fluky, which is the worst part about it. Feels like there's more losing to come. There isn't a huge cavalry of guys ready in AAA to come help things out. Grady points out that they've lost the most games of any franchise since, this decade. Impossible to argue with that. It does make you think, what sort of shakeup is necessary? Because we're reaching a point where something has to be done. Now, usually the easiest move is you get rid of the hitting of the pitching coach. We saw that in 2019. We might see that again. We might see that again this month, which that's what the Nats did 6 years ago in May, right before 19 and 31. I think that's probably where we're headed, but that email from Grady, we're starting to get more and more of those.
Yeah, for sure. And I get it. I totally get it. I brought up the notion of Davey Martinez being fired a few episodes ago, and I do think that that should be on the table. I think that that is on the table, but I don't label that as likely. I think what is more possible is that Davey is out at the end of this season. I think it would take a lot for Davey to be fired in season. I think Mike Rizzo's job is in jeopardy if this season doesn't go well. Again, I think that would come him being dismissed at the end of the season, not in season. But in terms of an in-season change, I think you're right. I think the hitting coach, Darnell Coles, is on the spot. And it's a funny deal because the Nats overall offensively are better than what they had been in recent seasons. And it was not long ago that we were singing the praises of the Nats offense this season, hitting for more power, generating more home runs. But the offense lately has been abysmal, and the overall body of work for the Nats offensively with Darnell Coles as hitting coach, not good. The Nats hired Coles as their hitting coach in October 2021. But what I think about with the Coles thing is this. So it was last August 14th that we got that stunning announcement from Davey Martinez that his entire coaching staff would return for the 2025 season. It does not make you look good if you, the previous August, announced that all of your coaches are coming back, and then you, in the middle of the following May, fire one of those coaches in Darnell Coles. And I'm not saying that look should be a factor here, but we all know how things work, and I wonder if there is some of that in play here of maybe we should fire Darnell Coles, but we don't want to because it's not going to look good. The Nats took a lot of criticism from this podcast, especially for, I thought, prematurely announcing the retaining of all these coaches last August. I never understood why that determination had to be made last August. Why couldn't you wait until the end of the season? The Nats, for whatever reason, felt this screaming need to make sure that all these coaches were coming back, and yet we are where we are right now with the team at 9 games under 500. Another woeful offensive performance on Wednesday night. The Nats in this 5-2 loss at the Braves. 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The 5 hits, a home run, and 4 singles. The Nats again made an opposing starting pitcher look like a Cy Young Award candidate. A Brave starting pitcher, Spencer Schwellenbach, 2 runs in 7 innings. Tim, you look at this offense during the 7-game losing streak, 15 runs. Averaging a little more than 2 runs per game during this 7-game losing streak. There have been other problems during the losing streak, but the offense has been the number one problem.
There are just some spells where it just seems hopeless that they're going to score a run, or the only way they're going to score a run is off a solo homer by Abrams or Wood, which Abrams started off the game tonight with a home run. That was, encouraging, but not much of that continued from there. Al, look at Schwellenbach tonight. He couldn't have looked more comfortable. It seemed like everyone since Fetty, every single starting pitcher the last 5 days that have faced the Nats have been cruising, as you talk about. And, we talked about Darnell Coles up top. I know that Mike Rizzo had to eat some crow on Lucas Sims and Colin Poche, but another drumbeat that the fan base is really harping on, Josh Bell. I know he got paid $6 million to be in the middle of the lineup, and I know he got a 9th inning single, but man, do a lot of these at-bats seem like his bat speed is way off. I don't think his better days are at all coming back, and it's just an example of, man, this lineup's got a lot of dead wood in it, it feels like.
It does, certainly right now, it does. The Bell thing to me is not surprising. I brought this up when the Nats brought him back this past offseason. The Josh Bell of the last few seasons is not the Josh Bell of 2021 and 2022. Josh Bell, since leaving the Nats in the Juan Soto trade of August 2022, a below replacement level player, if you go by Baseball Reference's version of wins above replacement. And sure enough, he's performing like that, at least so far here. We know the track record with Josh Bell. He's streaky, and once he gets going, he can really get going. But we're waiting on him to get going, and it really has not happened. You mentioned the Abrams home run. That's the thing. The Nats homered on the very first pitch of this game. C.J. Abrams homered on the very first pitch of the ball game. Nats 1 run first, a leadoff first pitch homer to right field for a 1-0 Nats lead. You thought when Abrams did that we might be in store for a big offensive game for the Nats, but the Nats did not have a big offensive game. Abrams for the game as the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 1 for 4 with that solo homer. Did commit a throwing error in the bottom of the first. And I did want to highlight this. For all the talk about Abrams not being patient enough at the plate, he homers on the first pitch of the game. And so that is the push-pull when it comes to this issue of working counts versus being aggressive, right? Like, if you're going to nail Abrams for not being patient enough, you also have to acknowledge that sometimes the aggression works in his favor. And it did in that spot with him homering on the first pitch of the game. Abrams now, for this regular season, OPS of 880. Another bright spot for the Nats in this game offensively, Amed Rosario. He had 2 hits. He is the Nats starting third baseman and number 5 batter, 2 for 4 with an RBI single and another single. Rosario now for this regular season, OPS of 752. But another rough game for Dylan Cruz. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter, 0 for 4, including striking out looking with a runner on second and 2 outs to end the game. Now, in fairness to Cruz, the called strike 3 was way high. That was a bad call. But look, he continues to not produce. Cruz now, for this regular season, has an OPS of just 552. And that's the kind of guy who you think about with a Darnell Coles. Look, I've said this with Coles previously. There's a lot here we don't know. We don't know what he is and isn't doing behind the scenes. We don't know what he is and isn't advocating. Maybe he's telling the Nats all the right things, and these guys just aren't very good, and they're just not executing those right things. So I don't know if it's Darnell Coles' fault that the offense overall during his time as Nats hitting coach has not been good, and that the offense here lately has gone into this rut. But what you worry about is you have this premier talent in a Dylan Cruz. Is he getting the best coaching possible? Or is he getting high-level coaching? And if he's not, that's a problem. Now, if he is, and he's just not very good, that's a different story. But the concern here is you have a number 2 overall pick from the 2023 MLB draft. He's not off to a good start in the MLB portion of his career. Is he getting the best possible coaching? That's the question.
That, to me, right there, sort of answers it right there. Should you get a new hitting coach? How's Dylan Cruz doing? Not well. What would happen if someone else came in? I don't know. Something new would occur. It's very troubling to see Cruz so far below the Mendoza line. He's hovering at about 180. He's not even close to 200. And, you talk about Coles might be doing all the right things. I have trouble believing that based upon what I'm seeing in the box score each day. But the Cruz thing, I still think that a lot of fans have jumped the gun a bit on Cruz criticism because I think he's shown that he's a really good fielder. I think he's shown he's a really good base stealer. But the hitting thing, it's still very early in his career. I mean, he has not played 4 full months yet in the big leagues. But I will also say that this season is over a quarter of the way done. And it is starting to get late, and it's hard to say, well, it's early in the season when we're, fully into mid-May.
There's no question. It is still early in Dylan Cruz's career. It is still early in this season. And so to write Dylan Cruz off to say that this is a bad season for Dylan Cruz, so far it is a bad season, but that can change. And I actually think it probably will change. But, you can't just assume that it'll change. And right now, you look at what's going on with him, and yes, he is hitting balls hard, but he also is striking out a good bit, and he has a lot of plate appearances that just don't look good. And here's kind of the main thing. With Dylan Cruz, and I've said this, he's not here to be a nice player. He's not here to be even a good player. He's here to be a great player. He's here to be a special player. And anything short of that is a disappointment. And that is a lofty standard. I get that. But when you're a number 2 overall pick in a draft, when you're a Golden Spikes Award winner, these are the expectations. James Wood right now looks like he's special. Dylan Cruz right now does not look like he's special. And what tends to be the case is that when a guy is special, you see it pretty quickly. Usually the guy isn't bad initially, and then he becomes special. Like, normally when you're special, you see it pretty soon. We've seen that with James Wood. We haven't seen it yet with Dylan Cruz. I hope like heck we see it as this season goes on.
To your point, Al, of he's supposed to be a great player. He's supposed to be an exceptional player. Number 2 overall pick, Golden Spikes Award winner, all of that. I think that anyone that's expecting that to happen I don't see that one occurring. I think he's an everyday big leaguer. Is that what you want to hear from your number 2 pick? No. But if you're expecting like a superstar to come out, I don't think that one's coming.
We'll see, but that is the hope. And that's what this was built up to be when the Nats took him with that number 2 overall pick. Hey, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. May is officially here, and so are the rising temperatures. Before you know it, you'll be wondering what else you can do to keep cool during the dog days of summer. Beat the heat and keep the AC in your home with Window Nation's energy-efficient vinyl windows. During Window Nation's semi-annual sale, buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free, and a free entry door when you purchase a house full of windows. Plus, no money down, no interest, and no monthly payments until 2027. That's a whole lot of savings and a super smart investment, especially when prices are rising. So how exactly does Window Nation keep prices affordable? Well, Window Nation works directly with the top window manufacturers in the country, which means all of Window Nation's windows are assembled right here in the USA. Plus, Window Nation windows come with a lifetime warranty, so you'll keep saving long into the future. Window Nation's semi-annual sale ends on May 31st. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free, and a free entry door when you purchase a house full of windows, plus pay nothing until 2027. Schedule your estimate right now at 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi from the Nats Chat podcast sent you.
Life as a small business owner, everything is your problem, and there aren't enough hours in the day. That's where LinkedIn Jobs, and by proxy Nats Chat, are here to help. For those crucial hires that you absolutely can't whiff on, turn to LinkedIn Jobs. Simply post your job, and LinkedIn will take it from there, making sure it gets in front of the properly qualified candidates who are searching themselves. Find out why more than 2.5 million small business owners have turned to LinkedIn Jobs to grow their staff. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your jobs for free. linkedin.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm excited to tell you about the designs Homage has cooked up for the 2025 MLB season. If you're as baseball obsessed as I am, you'll love the full roster of major league looks from Homage. Amazing comfort and deep cut designs that help fans show off passion for their favorite teams. Homage has a massive selection that tells the story of the greatest sport from its very beginnings. Deep logo history, coast-to-coast stadium tours, and the biggest players from every era. Legends never die at Homage. If you need your new shirt for going to a ball game, Homage has you covered with its most comfortable fan clothing, and it's available for fans of all ages. This year's collection hits dinger after dinger after tater. Fleece, tees, bottoms, and more. And don't forget to check out the new starter jacket lineup, an iconic dugout look you don't want to miss. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and these looks go long, period. Check out the Homage MLB collection to find your team's coolest gear.
Two balls and a strike. 2 out runners on the corners. Lord delivers. Swing and a line drive toward the middle. One hop and through into center field, a base hit. Scoring from third is Baldwin. Heading for third is Albies as the ball is played into second base. The Braves add another run here in the bottom of the 6th. It's now Atlanta 4 and Washington 2.
Well, the Nats starting pitcher for this 5-2 loss at the Braves on Tuesday night was former Brave Michael Soroka. He allowed 2 runs in 4 innings, gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He had 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw a lot of pitches, but also a lot of strikes. 81 pitches, 53 strikes, just 28 balls. So Soroka in the bottom of the 4th gave up a 1-out full count 2-run homer by Drake Baldwin to right field to tie the game at 2. Soroka wasn't bad. You obviously, they'll want more length than 4 innings, but keep in mind this was just his second start since coming off the 15-day injured list, which he was on from April 4th, retroactive to April 1st to May 7th due to a right arm biceps strain. The Nats bullpen in this game was bad. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 4 innings, despite generating 8 strikeouts. So the strikeout was in effect, but so was the giving up of runs. Brad Lord allowed 2 runs in 2 innings on 5 hits, all singles and a walk. He did record 4 strikeouts. Lord in the bottom of the 5th allowed a run, and he in this inning was plagued by some bad defense. Lord issued a leadoff 4-pitch walk of Eli White. Lord gave up a 1-out opposite field single by Alex Verdugo on a liner that went off Nats third baseman Ahmed Rosario. And Lord then gave up a 1-out opposite field RBI single by Austin Riley through the right side of the infield on an 0-2 pitch for a 3-2 Braves lead. That ball got by Nats second baseman Jose Tena, who was at second base because the Nats on Tuesday afternoon announced having placed second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. on the paternity list and announced having recalled infielder/outfielder Trey Lipscomb from AAA Rochester. Interesting, by the way, the Nats now listing Lipscomb as an infielder/outfielder. And Brad Lord in the bottom of the 6th allowed a run on 3 singles. Cole Henry again was good. He tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 strikeouts, but Jorge Lopez allowed a run in 2/3 of an inning. Bottom of the 8th, he faced 5 batters, got just 2 outs, gave up a double, an RBI single, and a hit by pitch. And Zach Brixey in the bottom of the 8th faced 1 batter, got 1 out. He generated a swinging strikeout of Nick Allen with runners on 1st and 2nd and 2 outs. So the Nats offense right now is the biggest problem for sure. But the pitching still is not where it needs to be, certainly from a bullpen perspective.
Definitely not. Soroka looked good early on, was pumping 95, 96. But, he's only last 4 innings after 81 pitches. And so I like the move by Davey of if you're going to pull him after 4 innings. I would prefer to see him come back out for the 5th. But if you got to pull him, I like the move of bringing in Lord. I think that Davey was hoping for maybe 3 innings out of Lord. So you go 4-3. Maybe Henry or someone else pitches the 8th, and then you get the Fitting in the 9th, who we all know did not pitch in Monday night's game, the series opener. But Lord did not pitch well. He also didn't get help from his defense. You mentioned that play with Rosario. Rosario has to make that catch.
2-1. Verdugo lines one to third. It's dropped by Rosario. The ball off his glove and trickles into left field. Wood has to come in and pick it up.
I mean, that just went right past him. And I was surprised when the lineup came out before the game. Tena was at second base, Rosario at third. I don't know what the right move is. That caught my eye a little bit, especially because Trey Lipscomb was called up, and Lipscomb can play either one of those positions. Rosario did not make a good impression there. Lord, I thought, really struggled in there, and the Braves got to him. And then Jorge Lopez was not good at all. I mean, Davey wanted to keep him in there desperately, get through the 8th inning, and Lopez is getting hit hard. And now that some of the other bullpen guys have been clean, the house has been cleaned on them, I think some attention is going to start being paid to Jorge Lopez with Nats fans now.
Lopez, at times here lately, has actually looked really good, but he still has enough of these bad outings to where it's hard to have a lot of faith in him. It's interesting with Tena because he has demonstrated defensive improvement at third base this season. We have talked about that, and yet for this game on Tuesday night, Tena was at second base and Rosario was at third base, like you mentioned. Brad Lord, so since being sent back to the bullpen off the return of Michael Soroka, has not done well. Now, the sample size is small. Lord has only made a few appearances. I still don't like that Lord was taken out of the rotation as he was. And, this idea of, his development as a starting pitcher will continue with him as a reliever. The usage has been spotty. And look, in fairness here, the results have not been very good. So far, this doesn't seem to be going well for Brad Lord. But yeah, he did not look particularly good in this game. I do, though, want to highlight Cole Henry. And I thought that we might see him work more than 1 inning. Henry has been really good. He had the one bad outing, that 19-5 Nats loss to the New York Mets at Nationals Park on April 28th, 5 runs in 1 inning. But he, beyond that outing, has tossed 12 1/3 scoreless innings in this regular season. And he, over his 13 1/3 innings, has 15 strikeouts. I mean, Cole Henry and Jackson Rutledge, the 2 converted starting pitching prospects, now relievers for the Nats at the major league level. I think each guy is doing a good job. And Henry has been really good. He right now might be the Nats' best reliever, most reliable reliever. I know that's not saying much, but like I said, beyond the one outing against the Mets, Henry has looked sharp.
I think the single best development for the Nationals organization this season thus far is that James Wood looks like a 30, 35, 40-plus home run hitter. To me, the second best thing is Cole Henry. He looks good, as you mentioned. I know he's had an up and down minor league career, had to deal with injuries. He was a guy the Nats were fond of for years. He gets up here. I like what I see this month. He's had a lot of scoreless outings, as you mentioned. He's becoming, for their A bullpen, he's a member of the A bullpen. I mean, is he Davies' most trusted reliever besides Kyle Finnegan right now? Kind of feels like it, and I'm fine with that, and I hope to see him continue to pitch more, and I like what we're seeing here with Henry.
Hey Nats fans, you know me as Tim Newmark, the guy who wrote the Nats Chat theme song. You may not know that 2025 is the 10th anniversary of the release of my personal favorite album, Galaxy. Check it out on your favorite streaming platforms today.
Tim Shover's here to tell you about Babbel. Did you know that the Nats are on the Spanish radio airwaves for the second consecutive season?
Ildemar, un batazo altísimo. La bola se va. Atrás, se da dinero, atrás. Se fue la fruta. Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo. Cuadrangular para los nacionales que ahora ganan 4 carreras por 3.
If you want to know what Luciano and Gustavo are saying on the broadcast on calls such as this one, then check out Babbel. And here's their special offer for Nats Chat listeners. 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/natschat. That's spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Babbel.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Cruz waits on the 3-2 from Johnson. The kick and the pitch. It's called strike 3. That pitch was up, and Cruz is called out, and the game is over. Dillon talking back over his shoulder. The home plate umpire is in disbelief. Braves win the ball game 5-2 on a pitch that seemed to be up and out of the zone. Cruz is called out on strikes, and that's how the ball game ends.
So the losing streak now is at 7 games. The Nats have not won a game since the previous Tuesday, May 6th. And if you remember the nature of that win, that was that bonkers 10-9 win over the Cleveland Guardians at Nationals Park, May 6th, in game one of a doubleheader, in a game in which the Nats blew a 6-2 7th-inning lead, but then overcame an 8-6 7th-inning deficit. That win gave the Nats a 3-game winning streak, but the Nats since then have lost 7 consecutive games. Game 3 at the Braves Wednesday night at 7:15. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. And dare I say, this is a big spot for Mitchell Parker. He has not looked good lately off having looked really good. Another bad outing, and you do start to wonder if some action might be taken. Either he goes on the injured list or he skips the start. I don't know necessarily that he gets demoted to AAA Rochester, but the last 3 starts have been rather poor for Mitchell Parker.
I think if Mitchell Parker has a poor start on Wednesday, you're going to be talking about Rochester, whether or not he needs to go down there and get right. I will say, Al, anecdotally, the first bad outing that he had in this stretch was the Sunday game against the Mets a few weeks ago. That happened to be the game that I took my daughter to her first game, as we talked about in this podcast. In the top of the first inning, I was like, I want to watch this game with my daughter on my lap and pay attention to baseball very closely. So that happened to be an inning that I locked in on. And Parker had, on a full count, I think it was the second hitter he faced, threw a pitch that was really high in the zone. And I was like, that was off. And then he issued another walk that inning, and I was like, yep, you could just tell. Something's not right here. And it's been that way ever since. And I hope it's not mental. But we know based upon how poor of a fielder he's been, like inability to make simple plays in the field, I think it's fair to say that he can get in his own head a little bit. So I'm going to be very concerned if he does not pitch well on Wednesday.
You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. All right, Pete Rose. This is maybe the longest standing topic in the world of sports talk. All right. I mean, going back decades in sports talk radio, a joke has been, if you need to get phone calls, just say, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? It's like this generic evergreen topic that has been in existence for so long. And there now is a new layer to this with the news on Tuesday of MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred seemingly out of nowhere announcing that MLB has removed Rose and 16 other deceased individuals from the permanently ineligible list, making Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, among others, eligible for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. What do you think? Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
I have always felt that Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall of Fame after he passed away, which has now been the case. I agree with the decision by Rob Manfred. I feel that Shoeless Joe Jackson very much belongs in Cooperstown. I think that, that will happen, definitely. I think Jackson has a better chance of getting in than Rose. I think Rose, with the committees upcoming, not that I know who's on it, but I think he's got a tough road ahead of him. And I thought Rob Manfred made the right move. Not a sentence I say often, but I agree with the decision.
Yeah, I have my doubts about whether Rose is going to actually get in. I think there are still many things working against Rose. I still hate the fact that he handled this so poorly. Had he been upfront and honest about what he did, I think he could have gotten into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive. And I think that's a big part of this is as is usually the case in life, it's not so much the act, it's the cover-up, right? And I feel like with Rose, that's a lot of his scandal. It's not so much what he did, it's the cover-up and the lying and the way he handled himself for so many years. There also is this, too, with Rose. And look, with Pete Rose, it's a very complicated issue. So there is this morality clause when it comes to voting for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. There is a woman who says that she had a sexual relationship with Pete Rose that began in 1973 when she was 14 or 15. And this thing has been out there for a while when it comes to Pete Rose. Now, how true it is, I don't know. But that's the kind of thing that people can hold against Pete Rose. And if you're going to apply this morality clause when voting for him for the National Baseball Hall of Fame, no matter what you think about the gambling stuff, it may be that you look at something like that and you say, we're not putting that guy in the Baseball Hall of Fame. But, I also think about this. The whole idea with the Hall of Fame should be to honor people while they are alive. And there is a part of me that looks at this and says, okay, if you were going to do this, why didn't you do this when Rose was alive and at least give him the opportunity to be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame while he still is alive? These posthumous elections of people to Halls of Fame, I always feel like that they're so empty. Like, what good does it do when someone's dead to put that person in a Hall of Fame? Like, yeah, maybe it's meaningful to the person's family, but you really ideally want to honor people while they are alive. And if someone is worthy of being honored, then that someone should be able to enjoy being honored. And in this case, you're not going to have that. I agree with you on Joe Jackson. I think there's a really good chance that he gets in. But I have my doubts about Pete Rose. It's going to be really interesting to see how that voting goes.
So I was always back and forth on should Rose get in until that report came out. I think that came out in about 2017 or so, middle of last decade, about him and his previous sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl, somewhere around there. I decided there and then that after he passes away should be whether or not he gets in. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me on that. You did also mention, by the way, that he could have gotten in the past. There are a lot of reports that Bud Selig was very close to letting him in about 25 years ago. I think, based upon what I read, I don't remember all the details, that Rose's side screwed that up, which is typical of him. He always got in his own way. First off, the deal that he negotiated with Commissioner Giamatti 40 years ago was preposterous. The fact that he even agreed to be put on that list. Now, he keeps saying he thought he was going to appeal 6 months or a year later. Bart Giamatti passes away. Faye Vincent's the new commissioner, and it's been a whole different thing ever since. But I never understood why he agreed to the deal in the first place. So a lot of it is very much Pete Rose's own fault and his advisor's own fault on this. To the posthumous thing, I just said why I think in this case, I think it's appropriate for Rose to do so. Normally you are correct, but I think given the personality of Rose, that's why I'm comfortable with this being the situation. I should also add that him getting in the Hall of Fame would have so much meaning to the Cincinnati Reds fan base and the people from the West Cincinnati neighborhood that he spent the bulk of his life in. So for those fans alone who root for a team that is almost never competitive, it would mean so much to them that I'm in favor of them having that moment, seeing Rose get a plaque into Cooperstown.
Well, this is one of those ongoing topics, and it is perhaps finally actually coming to an end. It's amazing. We this year have had the end of the Masson dispute, and we may actually finally have the end of the Pete Rose Hall of Fame debate. Incredible that those two topics may actually come to conclusions.
Rob Manfred, part of both.
That's right. Rob Manfred is part of both. You see, Manfred gets things done. Give the guy credit. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast. And we leave you now with this report on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel.
Look in, begins the windup, and the slender southpaw's pitch is blooped out to left, twisting down the line, and that will fall safely for a hit. Morgan picks it up near the sidewall and throws to second, holding Lyle to a bloop single.
Well, there's some good news and some bad news as far as the Rochester Red Wings are concerned right now. On the positive front, the team's offense has been coming alive. Right now, the best batting average in the International League in the month of May at .313. On the negative side, though, the Red Wings have the worst team ERA in the league in the month of May at 8.45. On the offensive side, Dalen Lyle continues to hit since getting promoted from AA Harrisburg. The young outfielder has hit safely in 9 of his first 10 AAA games, batting .375 for the Red Wings with 3 doubles, a triple, and a home run. If you go back to his time with Harrisburg earlier in the season, he's now hit safely 23 of his last 24 games. Robert Hassel III was 4 for 18 this past week. He's now hitting .284 for the Red Wings with a pair of homers and 5 doubles, 8 for 9 stealing bases. And Brady House was 3 for 15 last week with a double, the third baseman hitting .283 with a team-leading 5 home runs. Juan Yepez might be starting to come alive offensively for the Red Wings. He went 8 for 18 over his last 6 games. That includes a double and his first home run of the season on Saturday. On the pitching front, the Red Wings have added a couple of free agents that the Nationals signed last week. One of them is veteran right-hander Adrian Sampson, who's pitched in the Major League some for Seattle, Texas, and the Cubs. His debut for the Red Wings was Wednesday night, in which he pitched 3 shutout innings. And the other new addition on the free agent front is right-hander Parker Dunshee. Spent most of last year with AAA Gwinnett, did pitch in 1 Major League game for Atlanta. He was beginning this season with Tijuana in the Mexican League. His first couple of appearances for the Red Wings have been pretty good. He's gone 2 innings, allowing 1 run on 1 hit. And Cade Cavalli has made a couple of starts now. He returned to the mound over the weekend, pitched 2 really good innings to start, then struggled in the 3rd inning with his command. Only lasted 2 2/3 innings, allowing 5 runs overall in that appearance. Topped out at 98 miles an hour with his fastball, though, averaged 96 miles an hour. Been throwing the curveball a lot. 44% of his pitches in his first 2 starts this season for the Red Wings have been the curveball. This is Josh Whetzel with this Rochester Red Wings report.
Everybody on their feet here in Cincinnati.